Welcome to Crash Book, your book in a capsule. The place where we present books in short and simple knowledge capsules, so you can benefit from them anytime, anywhere. Whether you're on public transport or during waiting times, here you can listen to summaries of the most important books and feed your mind with new ideas that help you develop your life. So, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell to receive all new content and enjoy every moment of this knowledge journey with us. In the introduction, Angela Duckworth introduces the core concept of her book, grit. She defines grit as a combination of passion and perseverance, a quality that is essential for achieving long-term goals. Duckworth reflects on her journey to understanding grit, from her time as a teacher to her career as a psychologist. She reveals her fascination with why some people succeed while others, despite having similar talent, fail to persist. Through her research and personal experiences, she concludes that the secret to success is not natural talent, but rather the ability to keep going despite challenges and setbacks. The introduction sets the stage for exploring how grit plays a fundamental role in achieving success. Part 1. What is grit and why is it important? Chapter 1. Showing Up. Duckworth begins by sharing a personal story from her teaching days, where she witnessed the stark difference between students who struggled with perseverance and those who excelled due to their grit. She emphasizes that success isn't just about raw talent. It's about showing up consistently and putting in the effort, even when things are difficult. Duckworth introduces the idea that people often overestimate the importance of talent and underestimate the power of effort and persistence. The story highlights that talent can be a helpful foundation, but it's the commitment and determination to keep working, regardless of obstacles, that makes the difference. She shares the concept of effort counts twice. It's not only about how hard you work, but also how long you stick with it. The chapter concludes by reinforcing the idea that success is often more about persistence than talent, and how showing up is the first step toward achievement. Chapter 2. Distracted by talent. In this chapter, Duckworth confronts the myth that talent alone is what leads to success, arguing that society overemphasizes the importance of natural ability. She uses examples from various fields, such as education and business, to illustrate how people often get distracted by the idea that only the most talented will succeed. Duckworth points out that high achievers are not necessarily the ones with the highest natural intelligence or skill, but rather those who persist and put in the most effort over time. Through a series of studies and anecdotes, Duckworth shows that those with grit, a mix of passion and perseverance, tend to outperform their more talented counterparts. She challenges the common belief that success is a result of talent, instead highlighting the importance of sustained effort and practice. Duckworth emphasizes that while talent can give an initial advantage, it's the ability to keep going, to work harder and longer than others, that ultimately leads to success. Chapter 3. Effort Counts Twice. Duckworth introduces her effort counts twice formula, which forms the core of her argument in this chapter. She explains that talent and effort both matter, but effort is the critical factor. According to Duckworth, talent is only half of the equation. Effort is the multiplier that transforms talent into achievement. The equation she presents is talent times effort equals skill, and then skill times effort equals achievement. This shows that effort is necessary at every stage of success. Duckworth explains how this formula applies to real-life examples, such as successful athletes, musicians, and entrepreneurs. She points out that many people assume that talent alone will lead to success, but without the effort to hone that talent, it doesn't lead anywhere. The chapter concludes by underscoring the idea that sustained effort over time, persistence, and grit is what makes talent work and ultimately leads to mastery and success. Chapter 4. Grit Grows. Duckworth shifts her focus to how grit develops over time, challenging the idea that people are either born with grit or not. Through her research, Duckworth explains that grit is not a fixed trait, but something that can be cultivated and strengthened through practice. She discusses the role of passion in developing grit, explaining how passion for a particular goal or interest can drive people to keep working hard for long periods. The chapter also explores the importance of perseverance, which is the ability to stay committed to long-term goals despite difficulties and setbacks. Duckworth shares stories of individuals who developed their grit over time by sticking with their passions and practicing relentlessly, even when faced with challenges. She concludes by emphasizing that grit grows through experience, and that anyone can develop it with time, dedication, and a willingness to learn from failures. Summary of Part 1 *. Grit is a combination of passion and perseverance that is crucial for long-term success. Talent alone is not enough. It's the effort and persistence that make the difference. Effort counts twice. It is the multiplier that turns talent into skill and skill into achievement. Grit is not a fixed trait. It can grow and develop over time through practice, passion, and perseverance. Success is less about natural ability and more about showing up, putting in the effort, and sticking with it through challenges. In this first part, Duckworth lays the foundation for understanding why grit is such a powerful predictor of success. She emphasizes that, while talent can help, it's the combination of passion, perseverance, and sustained effort that leads to outstanding achievements. The key message is that grit is something anyone can cultivate, regardless of their starting point or natural abilities. Part 2. Developing Grit from the Inside Out. Chapter 5. Interest. Duckworth starts by explaining that passion, which is essential for grit, begins with genuine interest. She emphasizes that without interest, it's difficult to sustain the effort required for long-term success. The chapter explores how people find and develop their interests. Duckworth mentions that interest often starts small and grows over time as individuals engage with an activity or field. She highlights the importance of cultivating interest, not just waiting for it to appear spontaneously. According to Duckworth, it's crucial to actively seek out experiences and domains that may spark curiosity and excitement. Duckworth shares stories of people who develop lifelong passions for their work, like musicians, scientists, and athletes, showing how early experiences shape their enduring interest. She also notes that many people give up too soon when they don't immediately feel passionate about something, but grit involves sticking with things long enough to let the interest grow naturally. The chapter concludes by stressing that interest is the first step toward developing passion. Without interest, the drive to work hard and persevere can't emerge. Chapter 6. Practice. In this chapter, Duckworth dives into the importance of deliberate practice in developing grit. She explains that talent alone is not enough. Deliberate practice is what separates high achievers from those who don't reach their full potential. Duckworth describes deliberate practice as purposeful, focused, and structured training that targets weaknesses and pushes individuals outside their comfort zones. It's not just about repetition, but about thoughtful and mindful engagement. She discusses how great performers, such as athletes and musicians, use deliberate practice to hone their skills. Rather than simply practicing for the sake of it, they identify areas of improvement and continually challenge themselves to get better. Duckworth also touches on the importance of feedback in the practice process, explaining that high achievers actively seek feedback to improve and correct mistakes. The chapter stresses that practice needs to be challenging to be effective. It's not about doing what is easy, but constantly working at the edge of one's abilities. Duckworth concludes by explaining that deliberate practice is an essential component of grit. Without the willingness to put in the hard work and practice with purpose, talent cannot be fully developed. Chapter 7. Purpose. Duckworth shifts her focus to the concept of purpose in this chapter, explaining how a sense of purpose fuels the passion and perseverance needed for grit. She highlights that purpose is often rooted in a desire to contribute to something greater than oneself. It's about aligning personal goals with a broader vision or mission. Duckworth shares stories of people whose purpose kept them going through difficult times, such as a surgeon who finds meaning in saving lives, and a teacher who is motivated by the impact she has on her students' futures. She explains that a strong sense of purpose makes work feel meaningful, even when it is difficult or monotonous. It provides a reason to keep going when the going gets tough. The chapter emphasizes that purpose is not something that's always clear from the beginning. It develops over time as people gain experience and understanding of how their work connects to a larger goal. Duckworth concludes by stressing that purpose adds depth to passion. It transforms what might have started as interest into something that drives individuals to persevere even in the face of obstacles. Chapter 8. Hope. Duckworth discusses the importance of hope in sustaining grit. She distinguishes between hope and optimism, explaining that hope is not about expecting things to always turn out well, but about believing that effort will make a difference. Hope is the belief that, despite setbacks, your efforts can lead to success in the future. It's a mindset that enables people to stay motivated and keep working toward their goals, even when progress is slow. Duckworth shares research on how people with hope tend to be more resilient, bouncing back from failure and continuing to work toward their goals. The chapter explores the role of self-talk in building hope. Duckworth mentions how positive, encouraging thoughts can help individuals persevere when they feel discouraged. Duckworth also discusses the growth mindset as a key factor in fostering hope. People with a growth mindset believe that their abilities can improve with effort, which fuels their determination to keep going. The chapter concludes by emphasizing that hope is a critical component of grit. Without hope, people are more likely to give up when they face challenges, but with hope, they are willing to persist and try again after failure. Summary of Part 2 *. Passion and perseverance are both crucial components of grit, and both can be developed from the inside out. Interest is the first step toward passion, and it's important to actively cultivate it through curiosity and exploration. Deliberate practice is the key to improving and mastering skills, and it requires focused effort and constant self-assessment. Purpose provides meaning to the work, aligning personal goals with a broader mission, and helps individuals stay committed over the long term. Hope is the belief that effort can lead to success, and it enables individuals to stay resilient in the face of challenges and setbacks. In this part, Duckworth explains that grit is not something that happens overnight. It requires continuous development through passion, practice, purpose, and hope. In Part 2, Duckworth explores the inner qualities that contribute to grit. She emphasizes that passion and perseverance can be nurtured from the inside out, starting with interest and growing through deliberate practice, purpose, and hope. These elements create a foundation that supports long-term success, helping individuals develop the resilience needed to achieve their goals. Part 3. Developing Grit from the Outside In. Chapter 9. Parenting for Grit. Duckworth explores how parents play a crucial role in developing grit in their children. She emphasizes that parenting styles significantly impact whether children grow up with perseverance and passion for long-term goals. She contrasts two types of parenting: the authoritative style, which is characterized by a balance of warmth and structure, and the permissive or authoritarian styles, which either overindulge or exert excessive control over children. Duckworth argues that authoritative parenting is most effective in fostering grit. This approach encourages children to take on challenges, persist through difficulties, and understand that effort is the key to success. She shares research showing that children who are encouraged to stick with difficult tasks, rather than being told to quit when things get hard, develop stronger perseverance and a greater sense of self-efficacy. The chapter also discusses how parents can model grit themselves, showing children how to work through setbacks and continue working toward long-term goals despite challenges. Duckworth concludes by stressing that while genes play a role in personality and ability, the environment in which a child is raised, especially the guidance from parents, can have a significant impact on whether they develop grit. Chapter 10. The Playing Fields of Grit. In this chapter, Duckworth expands her focus to the role that environments, such as schools, teams, and communities, play in developing grit. She argues that environments with high expectations and a culture that values effort and persistence are essential for fostering grit. Duckworth uses the example of the West Point Military Academy, where candidates face grueling challenges and are expected to demonstrate grit. Despite their varying backgrounds, those who thrive at West Point share a common trait: a mindset focused on effort and resilience. Duckworth also discusses the role of extracurricular activities, such as sports and music, in developing grit. These activities often require long hours of practice, and success is dependent on consistent effort rather than innate talent. She emphasizes that grit is contagious. In environments where perseverance and hard work are valued, individuals are more likely to adopt these attitudes themselves. The chapter concludes by explaining that communities that value and reward effort and perseverance create a culture of grit that influences individuals to stay committed to their goals. Chapter 11. A Culture of Grit. Duckworth highlights the importance of building a culture that encourages grit. She explains that in such a culture, people are expected to persevere even when faced with challenges or failure. She contrasts cultures that reward immediate success and those that emphasize long-term effort and perseverance. In cultures that value grit, people are encouraged to take risks, make mistakes, and learn from failures rather than avoiding difficulty. Duckworth discusses the role of leadership in creating a culture of grit. Leaders who model persistence and commitment inspire others to do the same. They set the tone for the entire organization or group. She also examines how grit is influenced by societal values and norms, explaining that in some cultures, there is a stronger emphasis on working hard and persevering, while in others, immediate results are prioritized. The chapter provides examples from various organizations, such as business firms and educational institutions, where a culture of grit has led to long-term success. Duckworth concludes by saying that building a culture of grit takes time and effort, but it's an essential factor for long-term achievement and success. Summary of Part 3 *. The development of grit is not just an individual effort. It's also influenced by the environment and culture around a person. Parenting plays a crucial role in fostering grit. Authoritative parenting, which balances warmth and structure, encourages children to persist and take on challenges. Environments, such as schools, teams, and communities, can create a culture of grit by setting high expectations, valuing effort, and promoting perseverance. A culture of grit is contagious and encourages individuals to adopt perseverance as a mindset, leading to greater success in long-term goals. Duckworth stresses the importance of leaders in cultivating a culture of grit by modeling persistence and creating an environment that rewards effort and resilience. In Part 3, Duckworth explores how external factors, such as parenting, educational systems, teams, and cultures, contribute to the development of grit. She emphasizes that while grit is an internal quality, the environments and cultures we are part of can either foster or hinder its growth. By focusing on building supportive, high-expectation environments, individuals and communities can cultivate the perseverance needed for success. Part 4. Conclusion: Grit in Action. Duckworth concludes the book by reiterating the essential message that grit, defined as passion and perseverance for long-term goals, is the most important predictor of success. She emphasizes that while talent may open doors and offer initial advantages, it's grit that keeps people going through challenges, failure, and setbacks. The chapter revisits stories of people who overcame enormous obstacles by embodying grit. These stories show that success is often not about the absence of failure, but the persistence to continue despite it. Duckworth reflects on her own journey of discovering the power of grit and how her research has shaped her understanding of what it takes to achieve long-term goals. She stresses that grit isn't a fixed trait. It is something that can be developed through practice, purpose, and the right mindset. Anyone can cultivate grit with enough effort, regardless of their starting point. Duckworth closes with a message of hope and empowerment, that everyone can develop the perseverance necessary to achieve their dreams, and grit is a trait that can be nurtured with practice, resilience, and time. Duckworth wraps up the book by reaffirming that grit is the most critical factor for long-term success, surpassing even talent or intelligence. She discusses how grit combines passion and perseverance, which are essential in achieving difficult and long-term goals. Duckworth reminds the reader that anyone can develop grit by cultivating passion, practicing consistently, finding purpose, and maintaining hope. The chapter closes with a call to action, that readers should embrace challenges, learn from failures, and keep pushing forward, as grit is the key to unlocking their potential and achieving success. In this final part of the book, Duckworth encourages the reader to believe in their own ability to grow grit. She believes that with the right mindset, anyone can overcome difficulties and accomplish their goals. Her message is simple: the secret to success lies in grit, and everyone has the ability to develop it. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more insightful book summaries.